Since the murders of Abby and Libby 2,086 days ago, the daily investigative team has worked tirelessly and is certainly worthy of mention today. Specifically, Sheriff Linsonby, the Sheriff of Carroll County, Detectives Tony Liggett, Detective retired Kevin Hammond, former Delphi Chief and now the prosecutor's investigator Steve Mullins, State Police First Sergeant Jerry Holman, Detectives Jay Harper, Dave Vito, and Brian Harshman, along with members of the United States Marshal Service, specifically Agent Jeremy Clinton and Agent Bill Colfers. With them today is Dan McLean, the U.S. Marshal, appointed U.S. Marshal. Our state police analyst, our scientist from many different disciplines within our laboratory division, Mrs. Kathy Shank, for your incredible dedication to detail and to so many others that I know I've missed. I really believe that Abby and Libby would be proud of you for standing strong, even in the face of immense pressure and perpetual criticism.
Hello. Can you hear me okay? Guys, I don't know if Joe's with me yet or not. If you can hear me in the chat, let me know. I appreciate it. I can hear, but I don't know if you can hear me.
There we go. I'm not.
Awesome. Thank you, Butterfly. You can hear me? You there, Joe?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
You sound a little muffled though. I don't know. There you go. That's better. I heard that.
All right. How's this? Testing 1, 2, 3.
I can hear you now. Can you guys hear him now, Butterfly? She's letting us know in the chat. They're saying your sound is off, Joe. But I can hear you now, so I don't know.
I think I unmuted myself. I was playing around with different microphones earlier, and I think that may have led to some confusion.
I think you're good now. Yep, they can hear you now better. All right. Welcome in, everyone. How are you today, Joe?
Outstanding. Outstanding. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn good. I feel accomplished. I got some stuff organized with this crazy case, right? I mean, as far as, the opening and the state's case and everything. We've had so much to digest and take in.
It's been insane. It like every single day brings new surprises and new witnesses, and
yeah,
it's just hard to stay on top of it all.
Well, going back and just trying to review, the way we're having to keep up with the case at the end of the day, everyone's trying to get their updates in the afternoons and throughout the day. Little is coming, we get a little down from the mainstream media, and then we get the updates from our YouTubers on the breaks and at night. And thank goodness they're able to do that. But there's just, imagine how overwhelming it is for them as well, right? Trying to be there and keep up with all that and take such good notes. And speaking of good notes, I'm just going to say this, Andrea Burkhart, shout out, because I've watched Andrea's content for a long time because of the Idaho 4 case. I don't always agree with Andrea, and that's okay. She's a defense attorney, and I understand that. But with this case, she's able to give me an insight that I need to see. And even her read on the jury and her thoughts may not be my exact thought, but she's given me enough that I can make my own conclusion, and I feel like she does. They're paying attention. And I think a lot of them feel like we feel, but just shout out to her for taking good notes. And Sleuthy Goosey, because Sleuthy is taking a majority of those notes, and then she's transcribing and she's loading into a Google Doc for us. So I'm able to get a lot of the testimony to go over from there. And plus we take our news media stuff that we get throughout the day. I think we've all found that like Wish TV is doing a pretty good job at keeping a good summary, and A good couple of good reporters on Twitter are doing the same thing that we can follow. So we got a lot to take in, like I said, with all the various places to get our information, you know.
Well, and because this trial is not being broadcast to the public,
Yep.
we have to rely on those notes. We have to rely on those boots on the ground
Mm.
inside the courtroom, Bob and Andrea and lawyer Lee, and even the quote unquote credentialed media. I mean, we rely on them, and it's crazy to me that there are 12 seats allocated to the credentialed media, and we get one decent blog from Wish TV from those 12 seats.
Yeah.
That's it. Like the local newspaper from Tippecanoe County, the Journal and Courier, we get 150 word summaries from an entire day of testimony in the trial. That's just
Hope that's
asinine.
not me.
That's ridiculous.
Did I? One of us just cut out, and I'm not sure which one that was. Could you guys just hear that? Did he cut out for you guys? Because I'm showing I got a pretty good signal, so I'm just trying to make sure it's not me again. Yeah, it is crazy, Joe, because it's not very balanced, is it? You know, and when they're the mainstream media is great, some of them are right now, but they can only put out so much. You know what I mean, per minute. You know, when they're doing their little news pieces for the evening news, so to speak, they're only going to give you a little bit. And I think because of that little bit, I've seen some news reports. I've actually I've tried to avoid all the current ones that are out there because I'm taking in so much at night with watching Andrea and lawyer Lee. So I'm getting enough from them. I don't need to watch the local news, thank goodness, because I think the little bits I have seen, they're putting out just enough to still sway certain narratives, you know, and I feel like you're not putting out the whole context, so why put it out at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I posted on X/Twitter, whatever the heck you want to
The
call
box
it now.
cutter, yeah. No,
Yep.
yeah, I don't know if it's you or me, so that's what I'm trying to figure out in chat. If
All right.
Joe's cutting in and out for you guys, put a 1 in the chat. If it's me, put a 2, because I need to figure this out if it's me or him. Oh, well. Joe, you there? He might still be playing with his mics. Thank you, Butterfly. She's dropped Sleuthy's Twitter. All eyes. I have there was a tweet you did that I have saved to my favorites. That I'm going to probably refer to here. It's a quote you retweeted something that Andrea had did, and it was a good point, a good post. So I'm also watching that Twitter feed as well. All Eyes has a great Twitter, guys, and it's a great channel. So Butterfly, if you want to grab All Eyes link and give it a drop for us, that'd be great. Yeah, Joe, are you there? Let me go while Joe's trying to fix his mic. How are you? Butterfly, as always, thank you for coming in. All eyes, we appreciate you. Woman doing empathy. Girl, I love that. I love it. Walker, hi, welcome in. So, guys, it's been a crazy first half. Is that what you want to call it, of this trial? We all know, I think we're all pretty much keeping up with it. So we know that, you know, opening arguments happened, and opening statements rather, and the prosecution has presented their case. And boy, what a case did they present, right? We all watched, well, not everyone has the same opinion, but I think a lot of us seen that they don't have a strong case. And it appears a lot of circumstantial, it appears a lot of shady things have went down, and I think it brought out a lot of those things to light that people can't argue with. The bad investigation, you know, the mishandling of. So we're going to go over all the different elements.
How about this? I switched USB ports and I unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but you sound like you're muffled. Are you on earbuds, you said?
No, I'm not on my regular headphones. That's crazy. What's
Now
going
you
on?
sound better. It's like it's going in and out, so I didn't know if it was. I'm telling y'all, $11 at Walmart. You can't go wrong. I hear everybody going on about their expensive head thingies. I'm like, I don't even want that on my head, but this one's super light and it works. If I sound crappy, y'all tell me and I'll go get a better one, but I'm good with this $11 one. Am I cutting out? It's me, not Joe.
You
Good
did
Lord.
you kind of did for a second, but I haven't heard you cut out for a while now, for like 5 minutes.
Okay. For like 5 minutes. Okay. If it starts to butterfly, if you start to hear one of us go, let me know because I'm keeping an eye on to Joe's channel. Guys, I know it's a pain in the butt, but if you don't mind, sub up because if we go down, we always come back up on Joe's better signal. So we're going to try to get through this. I've only got a couple of little videos to present. Most of the rest is going to be stuff we can read together and talk about.
All right, you're coming in. You're coming in loud and clear right now for me.
Okay, I can hear you loud and clear too. So we'll keep going. We'll see what. So yeah, it's been a. What did you think about the state's case, Joe?
Oh no, it clearly boils down to two things: the unspent round and the confessions. And since Judge Gold allowed in the confessions, she also did surprisingly allow in the defense to show some videos that were not shown to the gallery and the public in the media. So I would assume that those videos show Richard Allen in a quote unquote altered mental state where he's probably doing some crazy things, which solitary will do to a prisoner. I mean, we know that. That's the whole purpose behind putting prisoners in solitary. And the only difference is that he was in pretrial detention. So being in solitary for however many months he was in there, 12, 14, 15 months,
I think it
whatever
was
it
13 months they've
Yeah.
determined altogether. Yeah, there have you heard some of the descriptions of what those videos were? It was all the so when I didn't real I was going so fast at the updates I was taking in. I did tune in to R&M, I think it was yesterday. Long enough, she was saying that those were the camcorder ones only. So I was like, oh damn. So then I went back, I was like, oh, she's right. Those were only from the camcorders. So the ones they have reviewed up till now were just the camcorders with no audio because the judge ruled that would be hearsay, but you can see the visual, which okay. But so they're the camcorder, which means him being taken from his cell to like the showers or to out to the doctor, or that if it was allowed 1 hour in the yard, whatever it was, anytime he was moved, there was a camcorder. So that's what they've reviewed so far. And from the descriptions I've heard from like Andrea and I believe Bob, and there was another one the way they handled him and the way he was shackled, head covering, all these nude, all of these things, right? Are also shown. And like you said, his altered state of mind, all because of the 13 months. To me, it showed a timeline for the defense to show a timeline of his deterioration as a result of being held in solitary confinement for that long. And what the influences he may have been under during those confessions, right? Because the defense is the one that brought this out and showed it. And McClelland objected, but the judge said, no, they can bring it in, just no audio.
Right. So riddle me this.
Go ahead.
This is handheld camcorder footage
Yes.
of a prisoner in a state facility by a licensed or certified employee, agent of the state, however you want to say that. How is that footage, quote unquote, hearsay? How is that hearsay? Make it make sense.
That's what the judge. I know it doesn't make any sense. And how they can see the visual, right? But they just can't hear the audio because I guess because you hear that with your, it won't be I say because you see it with the camera. So it's hearsay, whatever. Y'all got crazy rules over there in Indiana. I'm doing good to keep up with Florida, so I don't know. Andrea can give a better explanation of what they, that might be. But yeah, that was the ruling. So it is all so far. They're going to be seeing the in camera or the in cell footage this week coming up. So when the prosecution turned over discovery, Max Baker, their intern, was tasked with going through all of this discovery, and he put together this timeline. And he had to go, and because Ann Taylor's complained about this over in Idaho, nothing's labeled. You just here it all is 51 terabytes. Review it all and pick out what you think's will stick to the wall, whatever, I don't know. So he had to do that. So he went through all of that, and they got the timeline down to the months and everything, and even some of the dates on there. Because I think the camcorder, if I'm not mistaken, somebody in chat, All Eyes, you probably know, there was no timestamp. So he had his work cut out for him. But he testified, I think it was Friday he started, and he finished back up yesterday for the defense, and presented this video order footage they have of him being led from cell to various places and back to cell. So yeah, and there's, like I said, graphic warning, everybody. I don't want to put Rick's, because let me say this, they did turn the monitor toward the jury only and the judge, thank goodness, because she needs to see it, and they were able to view the video. Now the gallery was not, and neither was the media out there, and Rick didn't watch them either, and Kathy wasn't present. She didn't want to be present for it. It's not good video. It's humiliating to Rick. It's all the things you could imagine. So, but the jury did, and Andrea and Bob Mata both gave pretty good descriptives of the way those jurors were responding to what they were seeing. And it wasn't like, look at that guy, he's getting what he deserves. It was quite the opposite. If they aren't, in my opinion, they didn't help the prosecution at all. Like, prove their case that he was just faking. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's what they're saying, basically. Do you
Right.
agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. That was what's crazy about that particular argument is that Dr. Walla testified on the stand that she believed that at one point that he was kind of faking it. If she didn't say it outright, she definitely insinuated it.
Mm-hmm.
But then they gave him 3 involuntary injections. 2 of them Haldol. I'm not sure what the third one was. There may have even been a fourth one. I mean, the timelines are all so convoluted, it's hard to keep track. But okay, if he's faking, why are you giving him medicine for psychosis? Why are you giving him a treatment for psychiatric? Why are you giving him? Why?
Yeah, agreed that he wasn't in this bad state of psychosis and didn't need anything, but kept right where he's at. Well, we're plainly seeing that's not true. And if you go back to the early testimony when he was in interrogation with, was Holman was the interrogator, he tells them about his mental health status already. I have battled depression and anxiety. And then as things evolved through this testimony of the state, you could see how they were like, did they hone in on that and take advantage of that? And then even when they did or didn't, and he's in the prison and he starts exhibiting these behaviors, they still determined that it had nothing to do with those 30 days and, lifetime commitment there to your solitary confinement for 13 months. Nothing to do with that at all. And he's nothing to do with his previous, depression, anxiety issues. He's just faking it all. Which one is it, State? And look where we are. If you had done this right, if they had come out and said, you know what, maybe we have an issue, faking it or not, we got to determine these things. And the doctor even said they felt he didn't qualify to go to the programs that would have been tailored for that. They chose to keep him right there in solitary. So they didn't make themselves look good. And by doing that, and the jurors had questions about that along the way. So the jury questions alone they're coming up with and asking along with their reactions to things, I think a lot of them are thinking like we are. Like, what the hell are we hearing and seeing here? It'd be different if you came out here and presented us with some strong evidence, even some good DNA, but you're like fumbling all over the place.
Well, and I think I heard that whatever evaluation scale, whatever psychiatric evaluation scale they use for severity of mental illness when they are first admitted into the IDOC, into an IDOC institution, is from 1 to 4. And he was evaluated at a freaking 3.
Mm-hmm.
But so he's at a 3. And eventually, after 4.5 months in solitary, they start giving him injections, and he starts getting treatment from Dr. Walla in November of 22, whatever it was.
Yeah.
While he is still in solitary, he's a 3 out of 4 on severity of mental illness. But Nick McClelland, so I was there in person on August 1st when they were finishing up the closing statements for the defense's motion to suppress the confessions. So somewhere on July 30th or 31st, the defense's motion to suppress the confessions was heard. I only heard the closing on August 1st, but Nick McClelland very clearly said major depressive disorder and anxiety are not severe mental illness. They don't qualify to suppress it. And Judge Gull, in her ruling on that a couple of weeks later, used that exact same language, like verbatim. She said major depressive disorder and anxiety are not severe mental illness. But he was a 3 out of 4. So what qualifies as severe mental illness, and what qualifies you to get involuntary injections of Haldol? I mean, it just, good Lord, people, make it make sense.
It's like, okay, so past couple of nights, a few nights I was falling asleep listening to Andrea, but the last couple of nights, and I have to go back and review, but the last couple of nights I just like been intently listening, just listening and trying to focus on what she was telling me. And so as bad as these videos appear, they were, and if you really think about it, like she pointed out, he's not the only one. There are others incarcerated also with mental health conditions that are treated the same way. Then you come in and say, oh, what if they were a violent, without a doubt, proven horrible person? Would they deserve that same treatment that you're seeing in that video of Rick Allen being treated that way? So laws for a reason, and we have the Constitution for a reason, and all of his rights were violated, and especially this mental health evaluations that he should have been offered, because that would have been the simplest thing to do. When you presenting with all these symptoms he was presenting, the banging of the head on the wall, all the things we heard he was doing, they weren't good. What was causing that? And they just chalked it up to being crazy. But she would go from crazy one day, and I don't mean to use that term. She would go from psychotic one day, 1 week, to improved, back to psychotic, improved. I'm like, which one is it, lady? You got to come up with one or the other. You don't improve that quickly when you're that psychotic. It takes time. You got to get your meds adjusted right, all these things. And I had wondered if they ever gave him Seroquel. And I heard Andrea speak about it the other night, but it was briefly. And she said they had heard in the beginning, or they had heard in some of the testimony with, I think it was, well, when I was battling insomnia super bad, like always was a night owl, but it was like full force for a few years. And so I went to the doctor and I'm telling him, I'm like, I don't want your Ambien stuff. I can't get up and drive around at night and do all those crazy things. Well, because I had had the anxiety and the PTSD, they wanted to try me on that stuff, Seroquel. I was like, I don't even know what that is. They're like, it'll be fine. It was not fine. It was not fine. And they didn't like it when I walked back in there and said, I'm not taking this medication ever again. Turns out it's like really super strong. And it's really for like super bipolar and things of that nature. And I'm not that. So what it did to me was I took it one night, and I shit you not, I got up and I walked to the kitchen which wasn't that far, to get something cold to drink. By the time I got it out of the refrigerator and I turned around and went back toward my room, I couldn't. Where am I? Is this real? This feels weird. And it was the strangest thing I'd ever had. And I got all the way back to my bed finally. I just talked myself through it. So I was about to have a panic attack over the way I was feeling. Man, the next day I called that doctor and I went in. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm taking this shit. And I didn't like it. So I can only imagine. Yeah, I didn't like. Yeah, Seroquel does weird stuff to you. It's a very strong medication, but so is this Halidol. So they were already trying stuff with him that shouldn't have been tried for depression and anxiety. Of course, going to prison within days of arrest for something you say you didn't do is going to make you have some anxiety, right?
Well,
Not
that and so say his mental illness is due to some sort of a chemical imbalance
right.
within his own body. You don't solve that with one injection. You don't just inject him and all of a sudden, bam, he's good. You have to evaluate how he responds to that
Mhm.
injection. And he normally has to take somebody would normally have to take multiple doses of it to let that chemical, whatever that chemical imbalance is, build up in their system and try and get some sort of normalization. And if you're involuntarily injecting somebody with something like Haldol in the Indiana Department of Corrections, I would bet you my entire year's worth of paychecks that they were not evaluating him and testing him for those results. They were just shoving a needle in him and being like, shut up, dude, knock this shit
Well,
off.
I think I, I, at this point, nothing in this case surprises me. So here's my thought. I think their plan backfired because we give him these certain drugs and we keep him in solid our Odinist guards and have more control. We can put a camcorder on him and tell everybody he's crazy. Oops, we don't have any audio again. Problem solved. I think everything they thought was a problem solved along the way, the defense has been able to come out and show them within their own investigation. Excuse me? I mean, come on, they gave Weber a subpoena while he was on the damn witness stand. I'm here for it. That's ballsy. It's not what you would normally see. It's because they know he's caught lying. And we all know it if we've been following the case for years. We've known the talk, on the YouTube streets about the Brad Webbers and the alternate suspects and all the things. It's being shed a little more light, even down to them knowing these things were already this particular way and they spun it different later. And then now everybody been asking that big $1 million question. What happened to the FBI? Why'd they leave? And here we got finally Doug Carter he has emerged, y'all, but he didn't get out there with his magic hands and work magic for us and tell us everything he knew that he was going to tell us one day. We didn't get to hear that, but we did hear that it was him who told the FBI they could leave. And oh, by the way, give us back all that evidence. At that point, they're the FBI. If they felt like anything in that file they had was, they probably didn't get rid of their file. I don't care what Doug thinks. He's not that magical. It's just the feds.
Well, here's the thing about Doug Carter's testimony. He said that the FBI was quote unquote on the case until 2021. I want to know exactly what that means, because when Tony Liggett was on the stand, he said, and I swear to God, I'm gonna do a live that's titled "That Thing That Happened with the FBI in 2019," because that's what Tony Liggett said. There's something in between 2019 and 2021.
So what? And that was the day you were there when Liggett testified, and that was that the 24th?
Yes, October 24th. Yes.
Okay, because we have some. I don't know if
Yeah,
That's part of the
I would be curious if other people wrote down that same quote, because that was like a bombshell quote to me. Tony Liggett said even after that
he's done
thing
a
that happened
let's
with the FBI in 2019. Yeah, I don't know.
let me look at something real quick. Let's see. What Sleuthy has in her beautiful Google Doc drive Liggett's testimony from the 24th that she typed up via what Andrea reported. Let me see. Let me move this. And I've got a pretty good lengthy day by day witness list, right? And I've got a lot of the testimonies saved from the Google Doc and from the various news reports. So we can refer back to some of these and kind of go in order that matter. But this is the one that, let me get my screen up here so y'all can see. Tell me if you can see when I get it up here. Wrong, but I believe this is it. Can you guys see that? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I see it.
Like that or back a little? Okay. So this looks like, it's direct exam by McClelland, and it says the 24th, and that's the day you were there, right?
Yes.
And did they ask him in there about the Kathy Shank and all of that?
Yes.
Let's see. Okay. So this is what that is, guys. And Joe was able to go that day. And let me tell you, speaking of Joe and his channel, follow Joe, guys, because Joe was able to get to the court hearings. And when he is able to go, he comes right out and shares his take on it with us. And he also went out to the bridge the other day and tried to hold several lives. And everybody who came in was so patient because his phone kept cutting out. Reception was horrible. So we would get him for a minute and he would be in and out. But then he made some great video and shared over there with some beautiful images of the creek, the bridge, and around the area and the down the hill. And then I do have one of those saved to play here in a little while. But yeah, Joe's got some good stuff over there. So Joe was here this day. So this is McClelland, and I was just giving you the rundown on him, and then Kathy that she says. Oh, I guess Mr. Allen put himself there. I'm looking for where he started because Sleuthy's put all of it there. Okay. He is now the Carroll County Sheriff. Detective back in 2017. He was also the chief deputy for Carroll County. He was part of the Abby and Libby investigation, and in September 22, Kathy Shank brought him the tip lead to review and summary from Dan Doolin. It really stuck out because he wasn't aware anyone had seen Riley Voorhees or Bree Wilbur, because we believed that only one person who had seen them was Bridge Guy. He knew that Riley and Bree were out on the trails. They had passed the guy coming in as they were leaving. We spent a lot of time reviewing what has already been established. Mr. Allen put himself there. I can't tell if Sleuthy's breaking it up between what Andrea was saying or what Liggett was saying here. I'm confused. He had the photographs that the girls had Bree took a photo on the bench, and law enforcement had that. The timestamp of that was 126. And it was shortly after that when they passed the guy. The bench was close to the Freedom Bridge. Joe, you said there's a bench there, right?
There's actually a bench on both sides of the Freedom Bridge. There's a one on the northwest side and one on the southeast side.
Oh, okay. Well, this one is one of the ones beside the bridge, and there was okay. Liggett indicated on the map where they had taken the picture, and he pointed to an area that was way far beyond the farmhouse that the witnesses used to identify where the bench was, because they said it had a green roof in the background. The picture is confusing, isn't it? Liggett points way closer to the beginning part of the trail as the part where they took the photos. He was familiar with Betsy Blair's interview and with her Fitbit info. He was familiar that 46 and leaving at 2:42. Or 2:14. I said that completely backwards. Betsy had seen the man on the platform in the early part of that frame. Sarah saw the man at 3:56. Same man. Leaving at 2:14. 4 o'clock. Same man. Okay. 40 caliber Winchester bullet at the scene. Libby's cell phone. I guess this is summarizing of what he's doing.
Yes,
Do you
this
remember
is
any? Is this ringing
this
true
is
to you?
yeah. So this is I'm following along in my notes also. So that is concluding the direct exam from
Okay.
McClelland, and then at 2:32, right after that, Rosie begins his cross, and like 3 pages into his cross, he starts talking about Sarah Carbaugh's story and how her story has changed from just muddy to bloody to muddy and bloody. And then he says Liggett didn't know, he wasn't aware that there was a 3-week gap between when the girls were found and when Sarah Carbaugh actually made her report to the police.
Yeah.
And then there are lots of Ford Focuses. They don't know how many are in Carroll County. They didn't even check that out.
Man, I'm telling you right now, I don't care which side of Idaho 4 you sit on, that right there would never fly in that case. Not even, it wouldn't for me either. There's been so much about that car footage and what you can and cannot tell, the make, the model, the everything, the grainy footages. 2017 was way worse, and you got screenshots. You literally went off screenshots in the beginning that you took of the video. You didn't obtain the video. What did the FBI work on that? Because that's who worked on the Idaho 4 videos to identify that car in the end. They worked on the FBI. They were doing a lot of things. They also do the genealogical DNA, things of that nature. And they were investigating 2 other. They were the reason there was a warrant for Ron Logan's property. That was issued by the FBI, signed by a female FBI agent. And then you have the other alternate theory is also based in the same thing.
Right. And then so Rosie's cross leads to, he kind of steps back away from his Sarah Carbaugh's story and away from how many Ford Focuses are in Carroll County. And he said, so there were a lot of agencies involved in the investigation early on, right? Yes.
So, Joe, I'm sorry. Let me ask you a question real
Yeah.
quick. So, if from what we remember out Sarah's testimony, when Sarah said, and we're going to pull that, we can look at that, but she said when she was coming down the road, she passed a man muddy and bloody. She also said she passed a group of people, and there was a woman who appeared to have anxiety. Do you guys remember that?
I vaguely remember that. I don't remember the specifics of it.
Okay, well, the guy who took the photos at the end of the bridge, north end, he has the camera. Dave, I got his name. We're going to look at his testimony as well. He went out there with a camera. He's actually was one of the ones who sat on the board to develop the bridge. He grew up in the area and grew up going there. As he grew up and grew older, he was on the pictures with his camera, his really good camera. He reported seeing at the fork, Joe, whether you go left to the bridge or the other direction, at the Mary Gerard entrance there, right there, he said he saw a woman and a man, and they were talking loud and fast, but he didn't engage with them. So then it got me thinking, is that the same 2 people, man and woman high strung maybe, that Sarah saw? If that's the case, would that be Daryl or Derek? Is that his name? Libby's dad? Would it be Derek and Patty? Hey, JC, if it was, then when Sarah saw Muddy and Bloody Man, she also right then saw possibly Libby's family. They didn't, nobody else see Muddy and Bloody Man. I mean, if you put that together in your head and think about it, as Dave's times, he was taking that picture and
Right. The timing is everything. So
exactly.
that's something that I have not been able to put together myself, and I want to very, very badly. But there's just
Okay.
we just keep getting thrown new curveballs like every single freaking day in this
Well,
case.
what I had done or attempted to do also as part of trying to get organized with what the state did, their case. I think there's a couple people out there who have some pretty good little spreadsheets going on. But like I said, I had to go back and just kind of make a list of each person that testified every day and then try to gather their testimony from that list and then organize it. It was the best thing I could do for my brain. I was like, this is every freaking where. Thank you, Judge Gold, for making it a pain in our ass, but we're going to do it because we want to know the damn truth. So I take the truth from the different people because they all are reporting on different key elements. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you know more about his testimony than I do. You want to talk about it?
I don't remember Derek German ever saying anything about talking to women about who they may have seen. He did say he encountered groups of people. I don't have those notes pulled up right now.
Well, this was Liggett's testimony, right?
Oh, Liggett's testimony.
Yeah, we're looking at Liggett's testimony on the screen.
Right. So after
very well, you get. Oh, that's what she said. Okay. He says at one point the enhanced video pauses and it zooms in on Bridge Guy. That statement right there has always bothered me. So you were there the day he said that, right?
Yes, and that's when Rosie objected to it, and he said he's speculating about the enhanced video, and Judge Gold actually granted that objection. She said that Liggett was not allowed to speculate about the enhanced video.
Well, too bad that he already did.
Right. Yeah. You can't unring the bell. You can't retract it from the jury's minds. Yeah.
Yeah. They just tell on themselves. Enhanced video zooms in on Bridge Guy. Is that why? Clip I got from a Twitter tweet that someone clipped of Andrea describing that, and that it goes perfect with that. Because from what I've heard, the way it described from those who've been able to see it, that's what it appears to be like. Because we all know that in this photo we've seen of Abby on the bridge, there doesn't appear to be anybody behind her on that bridge. But in court, in the video of the little loop we see of Bridge Guy, in the whole video they saw, he's zoomed, he's right there all of a sudden. So, yeah.
Right. He goes from being 100 yards plus behind her to being 10 yards behind her in the enhanced video. And I'm still leery about the source of that quote unquote enhancement and the methodology.
There's so much they said most of us have, and they, as far as I'm willing to give you guys on altering a video of a suspect is if you were able to make the lighting better. Other than that, leave it alone, because you don't get to zoom in and out. You can zoom in and out for you to personally see if you can see anything better, but you don't do that and then release that to the public as something it's not. Do you know what I mean? What if it's not? And we've heard from people who were in the courtroom They are not convinced that the person that says guys down the hill is the person they see in the footage behind the girls. You can't prove that that person talking is that person on the bridge you see in the video.
Well, and okay, so
So,
if you're going to enhance a video, I don't have a
mm,
problem with enhancing the video. I do have a problem with submitting enhanced video as state's evidence to convict somebody of a double murder without
yeah,
telling me what the uncertainty is and what the methodology is associated with that enhancement. Like I can take a video and I can enhance it for somebody that's standing 100, 150 yards away, and I can make it look like my face. Like I can prove myself guilty with an enhanced video. But what is the certainty level of that? Well, I know for a fact that I wasn't on the bridge that day, February 13th, 2017. So there's 0% chance. So the uncertainty level is 100%. But Rick said he was there. So is the uncertainty 50%? Is it 75%? What is the uncertainty level associated with that video and picture enhancement of Bridge Guy related to the original video? I want to know what that uncertainty level is.
okay, well, as I learned more about the case over the years, okay, what if that was Rick Allen walking on the bridge down to the first platform? Because you can't see nobody behind Abby. But once you zoom in with the FBI and the CIA's powerful tools, do you see an image way closer now? And it's pixelated and it's wobbly and it's all the things on a zoomed in lens. And their shit's way better than ours, believe me. What if that was used somehow to make this is what was recorded on the phone? Boom, there he is. Like, come on, now you got me wondering what the hell y'all doing over there. Because even the ones that have been there said if he would, if honest to God, they said if you on the what they saw in court, he had to have ran to get to the other end as quick enough to say those words that we heard. So never was it proven that the person saying the words guys down the hill was the man in the video. But how did you get that videos? I would have been, why was there, okay, so if I'm the defense, I would have been like, well, how did you zoom in to get this image that, and I don't know if that was allowed, but I would have had to have, because it feels like that's what they did. Does that make sense?
Well, there's a lot of interpretation to be had in that video. And if I'm sitting on that jury, I want to rewatch that video like a couple of dozen times when I'm in deliberations. And I hope that Judge Gold allows that. And allows that with headphones, which is how Tony Liga said is the best way to hear it. I'm okay with that. But hearing the raw, quote unquote, enhanced video, not hearing the enhanced video, I don't want that shit. Keep that out of there. I want to hear the raw video. I want to have the headphones on, and I want to have like a 40 or 45 or 75 or 85 inch TV sitting in front of me, whatever it is, to look at it and see what I see. But short of that, I mean, I don't know how you let in enhanced video. I don't know how the defense let that in, but they probably objected, and Judge Gold probably overruled the objection.
I was reading a comment there, Jenny. So you're right. It's so odd, and I'm going to say, I guess odd may be the wrong word. It's not odd, I guess, because we all had suspicions about things. But every time the state presented a piece of evidence, the defense was able to come right in and really put that in really big question, you know what I mean? Dispute the shit out of it and show that it was not just lies, like perjury and they really highlighted how they would lose interviews and materials and things of that nature. Shit, Sarah Carball got up there herself and was mad and said they lost an hour of her interview with them, where she said muddy and bloody. So that was on them, not her. That's what she said on the witness stand. You think the jurors didn't hear that too? Do you see what I mean? They're just like, they are just, their people are just like fun laundering out there. I don't know. You guys see that happening too? Is it just me? That was some crazy with things like that, because you know how many things they've claimed they've lost or recorded over, and all the things they did. And then you got a witness, a main witness, that described muddy and bloody, and that's the part you lose of her interviews. And now she's calling you out on that on the witness stand. Right? That jury's not stupid.
They're not. This jury is my final hope that we might see justice in this case. But we'll only see partial justice, because here's the thing.
Yeah.
If Rick Allen did it and the jury finds him not guilty, that's not justice. But he'll be found not guilty because of how the police screwed up the freaking investigation.
Yep.
And if he's found guilty and he didn't do it, that's not justice.
Well, Casey Anthony, you know, and I don't like, it's going to be that serious, just like Brian Koberger. If he's no matter which way that he's found, there's going to be that, you know, thing, that side, and there's not. It needs to be justice, period. And if it is Rick Allen, and they honestly years among their little community, while they were all, you know, going through a hard time and looking at each other and pondering this and that, and podcasts everywhere, and you know what I mean, all the things this went on in the 5 years, y'all let that happen because y'all misplaced a tip on the local dude that nobody ever fingered along the way. Wow. After all those years of telling us, wait till you hear what we got, wait till you hear what we have, one day you'll understand. Today is not that day. I think it is today.
But it wasn't. And it wasn't last Saturday, and it wasn't last Friday, and it wasn't last Thursday.
Dude, hey, it might be now because the defense is up. It might be honesty time.
Okay.
Don't get up there and perjure yourself, Mr. Lawman. That's not going to be a good look.
Here is an interesting perspective, and I'm just going to drop this with the microphone. Why in the hell did the state not call the number one officer of the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, which was the lead investigating agency in a double homicide, Tobe Lesenby? Why the hell did the state not call him as a state's witness? And why the hell did they not call ISP Superintendent Doug Carter as a state's witness? Why do we have to wait for the defense's case in chief to hear from these two guys who were the two top lead investigators in this case?
Mm-hmm. You saw Doug Carter was out there speaking all the time about this case. Multiple interviews, press conferences. They're out there all over the place, all over YouTube. Just Google Doug Carter or go to YouTube and Doug Carter. Oh my God, everywhere, you know. And so if you're going to come out and be all this Mr. Spokesman, and you know, I was reviewing some of those, and I have this one where he's like, he was no homicide investigator. So Doug Carter was never a homicide investigator. Okay, well, that's like, all right, then I'll take that into account. Well, what kind of investigator were you? I need that kind of bears on your training and abilities in this case if I was a defense attorney now. But anyway, so you got Doug Carter up there, but all these things he claimed he knew and all this stuff, and one day he's going to let the world know, and it just wasn't the time, and all the things he freaking said. And then he gets up there for 10 minutes so far. Well, yes, I'm the reason the FBI left the case. And I wanted all my toys back that I gave them. Dude, really? That's all you got to say for yourself right now? I'm so disappointed. Oh, I guess I'm like you, Joe. There's more to ask him, right?
Yeah, like 10 minutes. I'm just getting warmed up with him.
I
If I
know, right?
if I have
We,
Superintendent Doug Carter on the stand, 10 minutes, I am just getting warmed up. We got some things to talk about, buddy.
yeah. Can you please, sir? Can you cross your hands for me? And
Right. Yes. Tell me how this sketch guy
I want to see
and this
something. I want to.
sketch.
It's a test.
Tell me how these two sketches merge into Bridge Guy. Tell me that, buddy. Like show the jury,
That's right.
show the jury how those magic hands work.
I'm gonna say we weren't allowed to bring pictures in of this, but I understand your hands can do the job. Can you can you describe that old person or middle-aged man, young guy thing with your hands to the jury? Can you do that? Tell us how they're the same person. I'd be demonstrating him while I was up there. The judge would be so mad, she'd be throwing that little hammer down at me. Sit down, Salty. Contempt of court. I'd be like, damn, judge. Shit. So anyway, okay, here's where they said, and Joe, you were here again. The video was paused and it zooms in on the bridge guy. So we get to watch this video. This is played in the courtroom. This is what Andrea is saying, I'm assuming. There's no objection to it. He said that he has viewed that enhanced video hundreds of times on different devices. It's best with headphones on so that you can block out the ambient noise. And based on that, he's formed an opinion about what is said on the video by sitting and listening to it hundreds and hundreds of times. Oh, he's done talked his mind into hearing what he thought he heard that one time. Okay. In his opinion, when the video starts, Abby says, "Is he right here? Don't leave me up here." Libby starts saying, now that's a little different than what we actually heard. Somebody whispers, "That be a gun." Then he says, her tone changes and she says, "There's no path here. We have to go down here." The man says, "Guys." They say, "Hi." "Guys." We always said guys down the hill was spliced fucking together. "Guys, hi." Then you hear a gun rack. Then the guy says, "Down the hill." Okay, so in between guys, you hear "hi," a gun rack, and then "down the hill." The public heard "guys down the hill."
Yeah, so when you're sitting in the gallery, you don't hear all that. You absolutely do not hear all of that.
Right? Okay.
And honestly, when I'm sitting in the gallery and I hear that video and I just got the audio from it, I couldn't really see the video very well because I'm in the left side of the gallery. So the monitor is turned more away from me and towards the jury. I heard, "Guys, hi, how's it going?" I didn't hear "down the hill," but apparently he said "down the hill." But when you're just listening to it like ambiently, just like naturally, it sounded like "how's it going?" But "how's it going" can sound a lot like "down the hill." So that was me just not hearing it correctly, obviously. But I didn't hear a gun rack. I didn't hear "is that a gun? Be that a gun? Be that..." Who says that? Who says "be that a gun"?
I've heard it said, "Is that a gun? Be that a gun?" both ways. People have reported it both ways. So I don't know.
There's no 13, 14-year-old that says "be that a gun." Yeah, that be a gun. No, that's not their natural way of talking.
"That's a gun," or "Oh my God, that's a gun."
Exactly.
"Shit, he's got a gun."
Yes, right.
Shit, he's got a gun. That damn, fucking gun. Something like that's going to come out. and
Be
rightly
that a
so.
gun, be that a gun is not something that Abby or Libby would have said. Guarantee you. I'm sorry, but that's
I
that
think
strange
people are having such a hard time
believable.
hearing in there. They've all said the way they have it set up in the courtroom with the way they have the monitor set up for them to view things on, the audio. They went to try to adjust volume or adjust a microphone closer to one of the witnesses one day, and like the prosecution about had a cow. Like, no, you can't be touching everything. Like, what? Y'all spent a lot of money supposedly to do this because nobody can watch it and all these stupid shit. But yeah, so
Well,
they
this is but Tony Liggett said specifically he made his own narrative of what he heard from the enhanced video. So
exactly.
this is what I wrote. He said
Okay.
they play the bridge guy video. Bridge guy, hi guys. Libby, hi. Bridge guy, I wrote how's it going, which supposedly was down the hill. Liggett says, and this is Liggett's interpretation, and this was objected to by Rosie, and the objection was sustained. But Liggett continues, is he right here? Then Abby says, don't leave me up here. Libby says, that's the path. Is that a gun? So Libby, according to Liggett, said, is that a gun? So that's more believable than be that a gun.
Yeah.
I have in my notes, is that a gun?
Well, if you hear if someone's coming up behind you and you hear a rack of a gun racking, and to remember in the confession, so quote unquote confession, I did something with the gun and then I led them down the hill. So if he did something with the gun, we knew right then there would have to be the bullet there, not way across the creek up there with the girls. And now they're saying that you hear the gun rack right there. But I don't know, I can't hear it. Has everybody heard that's what was reported? I mean, I've heard it, you know what I mean, both ways. People said you could hear it, others say you couldn't hear it. Like the gun rack or anything like that, I don't know.
I didn't hear it for myself. I heard Tony Liggett say that he heard it, but I for myself didn't hear it. And I would probably have to listen to it about 5 or 6 times to come to one determination or another.
Yeah. It'd be so hard to, if it's not like crystal clear, they're already
right. And okay. And
together.
You're walking on rocks. I mean, you've seen my pictures from when I was out there Thursday. There are rocks at the end of the trail, and there's rocks all over the place. There's rocks down at the bottom of the trail. There's rocks across the creek. I mean, what is the difference between hearing a gun rack and somebody's shoe slipping on a rock? Like, is it that much different?
Okay. So the guy says down the hill. That was all the info they had on September 22nd, 2022, plus the new info they got from Kathy Shank. When Richard Allen found his vehicles, found that he worked at CVS, got the picture of his vehicle at CVS, made a note that his vehicle was backed in. So you establish that the guy likes to back in. They thought this was notable because the people who had seen the vehicle at the old CPS building said that it was backed in an area where people don't normally park. Well, that's been proven a little different than that. People who do park there. They found out that
I pulled into that space on Thursday. I actually pulled in, and I could, because there is a trail that goes from that parking lot to the Freedom Bridge. There is a direct walking path. So when somebody says, "Oh, nobody ever parks there," I would take that with a grain of salt, because it seems like a likely spot to park if you want to get to the Freedom Bridge.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you're going to go directly to the Freedom Bridge, why not, right?
Right. Yes. It's right there.
Huh. Well, they found out that he had a lifetime firearm permit. They compared the Hoosier Hardware Store video to photos of his car Barbara McDonald had tweeted a while back when the trial got underway that they took screenshots of this video and then went back and retrieved the video 5 years later. I'm like, in 2022, I was like, what the hell? That's a long time to go back and still have video. So I asked her to clarify that, and she said it again, that yes, they took screenshots of it and then went back and obtained it years later. That to me blew me away, because what business still has it all those years later? I don't know. But we don't know if they ever confirmed anything about that car being that a matching vehicle. You know what I mean? We've heard that they got some grainy footage of cars. They thought the wheels, all that good stuff. So they contacted Alan and they interviewed him. He admitted he was on the trails, and then they said he changed his time to Doolin from 1:30 to 3:30, and then changed it to 12 to 1:30, and described he wore, what he wore, the blue Carhartt jacket and the jeans, and told him he would normally drive his car, his 2016. Told him where he went that day, what he was driving, all that good stuff. So that's what Liggett was testifying to, right? So that's when they decided they were going to arrest Richard Allen. Uh-oh, my phone. Let me take this down. So when they were doing those interrogations of Rick Allen, and they separated Rick and Kathy, they were leaning in really hard to Rick Allen during that interrogation. Holman was. And at the same time, they apparently had his wife doing the same thing to her. And they admitted on the stand to lying to both of them about having proof already that this and this and this was true. That's you on the video, you in the voice, and your bullet. And none of that was true. And we saw their interrogation tactics. Andrea's got some great recaps on that. But so the first day that they, opened, it was like the family, and then they went into the people who found, the girls and the clothes and things of that nature, and the crime scene. And there were issues from the beginning with the crime scene. Do you know what I mean? Joe, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a ton of issues with the crime scene. I mean, when you have the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, which is a state agency, conservation officer Dan Doolin, who is the one who made the initial report that followed up with the initial lead sheet of Richard Allen, who called in himself when they put out a blurb, and they said, okay, anybody who may have been in the area, please give us a call and tell us your information. Rick Allen did that. He's like, okay, I was there that day. I went like around 12:30, and I stayed till like 3 o'clock ish maybe. And then later he said it was like an hour that he stayed there. So he gave a range of times that he was probably there. And Dan Doolin and Nick McClelland later turned that into, oh no, I think he was there that entire time. So I think he was there from 12:30 to 3:30. I don't think he was there for an hour, somewhere between 12:30 and 3:30. But anyway, so that's a point of contention between the state and the defense. But he called in himself. Dan Doolin interviewed him, and Dan Doolin had supposedly been out of town on the 14th and 15th, came back sometime around the 16th, started investigating 17th. He said, I heard about these murders. I'm going to go report to Unified Command and offer my services. He goes down to the scene of the crime and he finds bloody sticks that had apparently been laid on the girls that were not collected for evidence. And he calls up and he says, hey guys, shouldn't we collect these? And they're like, we're good. We'll wait for a couple more weeks before we collect them.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest issues. And there was a lane better in Ground Zero, all the things they said they did, but there was a lot of things they didn't do right and timely. And leaving the sticks there was one thing. They just took them, tossed them aside, and left them. What else did they overlook that might have been super important? Because they didn't think was, if it's on your victim or that near your, that's Ground Zero right there. All of that needs to be taken into consideration and tested to whatever ability you have at the time. So if they have on the camera there at the Hoosier Harvester, Betsy Blair's vehicle is going eastbound at the trailhead at 12:22 p.m. Betsy Blair is going back at 1:15. Vehicle eastbound coming back from Delphi Library to her third loop at 1:46. Kelsey is going by at 1:49. Betsy Blair vehicle westbound at 2:18. This would have been after she had seen the man on the bridge. She passed Abby and Libby on the trail. She continued and finished her loop and then would have gotten her car and left. Sarah's vehicle was going eastbound at 3:56. So if Sarah's going by at 3:56 and she saw a muddy and bloody man walking, it had to have been, it's before 4 when she sees that. You know what I'm saying?
How does that jive up with Brad Weber's story that he came home at 2:30? So if the state says supposedly Brad Weber's white van interrupted Bridge Guy in the middle of his attempted essay, and Bridge Guy's like, oh crap, I'm interrupted. I'm going to have to take the girls across the creek and kill them on the other side of the creek, which by the way was 3.5 feet deep that day, and taking 17 tons of water through that creek bed per second. That's a verifiable fact with the USGS. 17 tons of water through that creek bed on February 13th. But he takes these two girls against their will across the creek and murders them on the other side of the creek because he hears Brad Weber's van on that private drive at 2:30-ish. How does he end up on County Road 300 North at 4 o'clock, just before 4 o'clock? I walked up that. At the end of the day, I was exhausted because I had walked. So first, I started at the Freedom Bridge entrance, the Monona High Bridge parking lot over by the trail, and I walked across the Freedom Bridge. I walked all the way over to the Monona High Bridge. I walked past the memorial for Abby and Libby. And I got to take a second. And I walked past that, and then I walked all the way back because I couldn't climb over the railing at the end. It was just too dangerous. So I walked all the way back to my car at the Monona High Bridge Trail west of the Freedom Bridge. I drove to the cemetery. I walked down the ravine west of the cemetery, southwest of the cemetery. I crossed the creek. I climbed up the hill parallel with the railroad bridge. I climbed up the second hill up to the south end of the bridge. I climbed down and back down again, and I crossed the creek again. I don't understand. And I did that. And when I came back up, which would have been the timing that Bridge Guy would have had, he could have made it up that in 10 to 15 minutes easily. I don't understand how you go from 2:30 to 4 o'clock in 15 minutes. That's a space-time continuum issue that doesn't jive with me.
Yeah, they've had like a long time to get their timeline built. I don't know. I think it happened so fast with them, and I don't know how they put it all together so quickly, even down to these witnesses and their times. Like all of a sudden they find a tip. So Kathy Shank finds a tip in a box, chilling out in the corner that nobody ever went through. And so anyway, they find the tip, and now all of a sudden they also have this, oh yeah, all these times it's like coming back to their minds. This, and this was going down at the same, like, wow. All of a sudden they got busy. Again, out of 5 years, come on. Is this all the stuff that y'all knew that you just couldn't place a person? I don't know.
Yeah, I have a really hard time with associating a conspiracy theory with Kathy Shank because she is such a sweet old lady, and she really is. But that whole story just reeks.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, oh, here's this stuff that's in this box that I found when we're moving sites, and it's got a page with Richard Allen's lead sheet in it. And oh, wow, I noticed that the lead sheet doesn't match the file folder. I mean, it strains. I'm going to say this like I've said 15 times in this case so far. It strains credulity. It strains belief.
Yeah.
Taking an hour and a half to walk up the ravine, that when I walked up at the end of the day when I was absolutely exhausted and it took me 15 minutes max to walk up, that strains credulity. Like, no, Muddy and Bloody Guy didn't take an hour and a half to walk up that ravine that I walked up in 15 minutes. And I'm telling you guys, I'm out of shape. I'm out of shape.
Well, look. So when I had asked, what's her name, Barbara, on Twitter to verify if that's what she was willing to back up, what she said was said in the testimony was that they took screenshots and then obtained the video years later. She said yes. But here it says in the testimony when they saw Sarah's car going eastbound at 356. Then it says the FBI is who recovered the video. They did a video canvas and got this video and provided it to Steve Mullen. On years later, what's going on here?
Wow. So let's kick them off the case. They're giving us good quality videos here. Let's kick them off the case.
Yeah, right. So if the FBI is the one who got the video, that would be the Hoosier Harvester video, because they did a video canvas and got this video and provided it to Mullen. Oh, can I call Mullen back to the stand, please? I got questions now about this FBI recovered video that they shared with you. Because if they recovered it and it's theirs, can they have it back now? Huh. See how that works.
Jenny says that Liggett said that he got it.
Didn't Liggett say he got it? I don't know, Jenny. Did he say that? If you can find that, let me know where that's at, because we'll compare their BS and see what's going on here. Yeah. So they had a report and an affidavit of a custodian of records. Basically, there are described all process of retrieving video and identifying the vehicles and so forth. They're talking about the FBI. They had a report and an affidavit of a custodian of records. Yeah, basically where they described all of this process of retrieving the video and identifying the vehicles. So the FBI has custodian over those records of the video that they obtained during their investigation. Mullen, and now they don't know what was on there except for the damn screenshots they took very early on, because that's who's had the video the whole time. What the hell? Oh my God. Idiots.
Somebody also tell me how Mullen ever had jurisdiction in this case. He was an investigator with the Delphi Police Department. This did not occur. This crime did not occur within the city limits of the town / city of
Right?
Delphi. How on earth did Mullen ever have jurisdiction in this case?
So if you look on the map or if you drive down the road, those two departments aren't far. Like they're like what, about like 2 blocks from each other? The county sheriff's department.
Yes.
And
No, they're very
and the city.
concentric to
Yeah.
each other. They're very geographically close to each other as far as their headquarters go.
Right.
But there's a very defined line around the
Yeah.
perimeter of the city of Delphi, and this did not occur within the city limits of the town of Delphi.
Right. But the
How did
city
he have
limits are going to be
jurisdiction?
way smaller, right, than the county
Yes.
limits.
Yes.
Way smaller. And
Yes.
so, yeah, but their departments happen to be like literally like 2 blocks from each other, you know? And in a lot of small towns, it is like that, I guess, or they're just right there. So they knew each other. It was all these things. They, I guess that's what I'm saying, because they would know each other better because they live and work so close together. You know what I mean?
Right. So obviously, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office is going to say, "Oh, it's a mutual aid thing. We
Mm.
invited the town of Delphi to come in and investigate on this case." But I mean, does that open the door for Mullen to have jurisdiction? I don't know. It's just, yep. One more
Yeah.
question. One more question on the books.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of questions in there. What their testimony that was coming out is, do you know what I mean? So there's certain testimony that was like really crazy throughout the trial. I mean, as far as they were laying out their case, and a lot of the things the doctor went over was that way. You know what I mean? The way she was describing Alan, the patient, and what they began to do to take care of him, and all the things they did. And now we see what's coming out in the testimony about these videos, and all those things are starting to happen. And then you go back to the crime scene, even when they didn't test all of the DNA they found. The simplest thing you would think was collecting all that DNA and the evidence properly, like Joe was saying. They took the sticks and tossed them aside. What else was tossed aside? So then we find out there was things from that crime scene that weren't tested. Some hairs, a green scarf found in the river or the creek near the clothes. There's like all these things. It's like, why not? And then as you move through the case and they kept presenting their cases, you still had more and more questions. So they're getting answers that you were hoping were there, they couldn't give you any. Just made you have more. Does that make sense? Let me look at chat real quick.
Nothing in this makes sense, and it's so bizarre for this case to be in my backyard and to be so absolutely bonkers. Like, so for those of you who don't know, I live in the county that's south of Carroll County. I live in Tippecanoe County, and I have a lot of very good, well-respected members of law enforcement in Tippecanoe County that do their job very well, and I suspect would have done a much better job than the Carroll County Sheriff's Office did in this. I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there because that's just like, if you find Richard Allen guilty and he's not, that's a miscarriage of justice. If you find Richard Allen not guilty and he is, that's a miscarriage of justice. And the law enforcement investigation of this case leaves it wide open. And it should not be that way.
No, it really shouldn't. It it's really sad, because that's the first thing I thought, man, when they come out with that bridge guy image. And you're thinking, okay, well, it's got to be somebody local, because a random on the Hoosier Harvester, are they going to stop? No, to get out and go on them trails. If that's the case, it was a crime of opportunity thing, or and they're gone. They had got back on the road and they're gone. Or it was a local person, local enough, that knew their way around. And then where'd that come from? And then, oh, it came from her phone. Damn. You know, then you're like, well, okay, this got to be a local person then, but nobody knew who it was. And then we find out there were all kind of people saying that it could be this person, that person. They claimed that those were looked into and all of this. And still, after 5 years, nobody ever. It's just weird. All the things that led up to it just never made sense until this tip was found. And I get it. You go back to the beginning. It happens all the time in a cold case, where you go back to the beginning, fresh eyes and all the things, and you go back and, oh, look, maybe this and this means something, and oh, wow, it does. That's not what that feels like. You know what I mean? It's different. It don't feel the same. Anyway, but that's how they discovered their suspect.
Yeah. 5 years later.
Yeah.
5 years later.
And we all know that during that 5 years, he lived there, worked there, CVS, everything. It's right there.
And we also know, and this to me is critical,
Tip that it was him.
We also know that the FBI suspected that multiple parties were involved, and they investigated multiple parties that Judge Cole has not allowed into this case. We know that for a fact.
Yeah, and if you look at and the FBI was uninvited, right, by Doug Carter. And there was what exactly was that particular reason that caused that? What made you not want them around, Doug? For real. Was it one of their investigations? Because they had, they did get the search warrant for Ron Logan's property, and things like that. And they had they're the ones that investigated the Odinism. There was a task force, all of that. So I don't know, what to come out and say unless they have to. And the TUI report stuff, Andrea was going over that. That went on in the Koberger case. But I'm going to tell you what, when Ann Taylor wasn't playing, when she said she wanted their damn notes and their emails, all their little side communications, and the judge said, well, you need to give me it's a certain subpoena she had to file. And she's like, fine. And he's like, you get it, I'll sign it. And she did. And so she submitted it. But you have to do that to get the FBI notes, even at best. It's real hard to get what they have. So I don't know what Doug Carter was all like, give me back all my evidence. They're like, no, you're crazy, man. But Steve Mullen has testified like a bunch of times. You know what I mean? And then we had the bullet expert lady. What was her name?
Oh, that was a weird name. It was like 4 syllables and 17 vowels in there.
I was sorry. I was reading something real quick. Huh? I'm sorry.
Oh, wow. Jenny. The probable cause affidavit said Liggett got screenshots. That is insane. Why would you not get actual video? Why would you not get video?
It was on the PCA for Rick Allen.
Yes.
I've got that. Well, I don't know if I have it saved on this computer to look at. But yeah, we need used in the PCA. That's ridiculous. Like, how screenshots? No, you can't. That's weird. Why would you not just get the video? Do you know what I'm saying? What, isn't that like investigation 101 shit? That you retrieve the video right then and all that. And then you go and you could try to get your car experts involved and figure it out.
Yeah, I'm beside myself with all of the missteps that law enforcement made in this case.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I hold on.
Okay. So the second day they had like the search parties going on, and then they moved into having the evidence collection and everything at the scene, and all the things with that, the crime scene itself, and all of the things they coulda shoulda done, including testing hairs and all the things, samples they didn't take, and items they chose not to test, and all that came into question. And then you had the witnesses were, remember, Riley Voorhees and Brianne Wilbur and Betsy Blair all testified, and they're the ones who gave the descriptions of, well, Betsy Blair is what they use for the description of the younger image. It would have been what she had told them, and the other girls kind of they had of him. They put that together, kind of thing. But none of the witnesses could get up there in court and testify that that's who that was in the courtroom. What? Sorry, I'm looking at.
Yeah, and I'm looking over the probable cause affidavit and the arrest warrant.
Okay, I'm sorry, I
So,
was reading chat.
yeah. Here's the search warrant for Whiteman Drive. They don't mention further depicted in the attached photograph.
Oberg was the firearms examiner. Yes, thank you. Let's see.
Fair Maiden, we appreciate that very much. Dual investigation, no working together as in, yes, Jenny, that is like the general consensus that the FBI was looking into the Odinism third party aspect, and Carroll County Sheriff's Office and the ISP was not having any part of that. So they parted ways eventually. I mean, you have Murphy, who goes down and interviews. He has Elvis Fields in his car. And as Elvis Fields is leaving his car, Elvis Fields says, so, if my spit is found on one of the girls' bodies, I can explain that. And Murphy does not follow up on that. So you tell me why the ISP wanted to part ways with the FBI.
Man, they don't even want my opinion at this point. I don't know, man. You could be so many things. Are you really that? I mean, what the hell? Why would you do that? You know, what about what their investigation was showing bothered you enough to say, no, man, you can leave now. We don't need your assistance. And by the way, give us back all of the evidence that we shared with you. Uh, uh, what do you do? What do you say to that? You're like, you're the FBI looking back at them, going, "What? Okay, here you go. Bye." Turn
Okay,
around, walk away. I mean, shit.
dude, suspect interrogation 101. If some suspect says, my spit might be found on one of the bodies of one of the dead girls, you follow up
Yeah.
with that.
You do exactly. So it's a lot of things they fumbled on along the way. I mean, a lot of things. That's not even a fumble right there. That's a whole damn misstep.
That's an interception
And
at the
then you
one.
sit
That's
there
an
with,
interception at the 1 yard line. That's
okay, yeah.
99 yard pick six.
I think the jury sees that kind of stuff right now. This jury appears to be paying attention and asking a lot of good questions at the end of these testimonies. Do you know what I mean? That's like smart questions. I think that might be blowing away the prosecution a little much. He might be going, damn, didn't see that coming. Yes, you can fire the FBI. Doug Carter did.
Yes, he
He
did.
just JC, he just testified to that he did, and he asked them, could he have his evidence back? Yeah. So apparently you can. Federal crime, they're coming in regardless.
Here's the PCA for the arrest warrant.
Okay, let me hang on, let me take this down. Okay, let me add. There you go.
So on February 14th, Valentine's Day of 2017, victim 1 and victim 2, who we know, rest in peace, Abby and Libby, were found deceased in the woods, approximately 0.2 of a mile northeast of the Monona High Bridge in Carroll County. At that time, the Monona High Bridge Trail was approximately 1 mile gravel trail terminating at the Monona High Bridge, which is an abandoned railroad trestle approximately 1/4 mile long, spanning the Deer Creek and Deer Creek Valley. Approximately 0.7 miles northwest of the trail, from the northwest edge of the Monona High Bridge is the Freedom Bridge, okay, spanning State Road 25, which is also known as Hoosier Heartland Highway. Approximately 350 feet west of the Freedom Bridge was a former railroad overpass over Old State Road 25. That's the small bridge. This is exactly the small bridge that Rick talked about in one of his statements and one of his interrogations.
And that's when you were driving in the route you drove.
Yes.
When you went over there to the little bridge, that was
that red bridge that I drove under. That was it, and walked over.
Mm-hmm.
The trail terminates just west of the former railroad overpass. The majority of the trail is a wooded area with a steep embankment on the south side of the trail. I don't disagree with that. The entirety of the trail and the location of the girls' bodies were and are located in Carroll County, Indiana. Through interviews, reviews of electronic records, and review of video at the Hoosier Harvest Store. Review of video at the Hoosier Harvest Store. Why did they not collect that video? This is in the arrest warrant, and they didn't collect the video in 2017.
It's insane. It's insane because that was not. It just make no sense to me with this video stuff.
Victim 1 and victim 2 were dropped off across from the mayor's farm at 149. That's not exactly entirely accurate because the Kelsey's car was seen at 149, which is a 1 minute west of that. So it's not
Mhm.
100% accurate, but it's close enough, right?
Yeah.
The Mears farm is located on the north side of County Road 300 North, near an entrance to the trails. A video from victim two's phone shows that at 2:13 p.m., victim one and victim two encountered a male subject on the southeast portion of the Monon High Bridge. So between 149 and 2:13, that's 11 plus 13, 24 minutes. That is moving fast. Like they had a purpose. Libby had a purpose. She's like, I'm going to take Abby across the bridge. I'm going to get Abby across the bridge right now. They had a purpose. But at 2:13 p.m., the male ordered the guys down the hill. No witnesses saw them after this time. No outgoing communications were found on victim two's phone after this time. Their bodies were discovered the next day. The video recovered from Libby's phone shows Abby walking southeast on the Monon High Bridge while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. Did we see that? Did we ever see that?
Mm-mm. This is what was my take on what I was described by the people who were in the courtroom. I listened to a couple of different takes on it to try to compare. And you see the picture of Abby on the bridge, the alleged Snapchat picture, and the video, the appear to be the person saying, guys, down the hill. And now we just learned a few minutes ago, and that reading that document, it's guys, gun sound, down the hill. So it's spliced or, messed with. Things like that was going on already. And then there's just things that never really quite made sense to start with. They're kind of making sense as you see it unfolding. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and as somebody who walked down the hill literally on Thursday morning,
It was probably the screenshots, all eyes. I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
No, I was just answering. It was probably the screenshots, if that's all they took from the beginning anyway.
Oh, right. From the Hoosier Harvest Store video.
Yeah.
Why? When they have when you have the video file to download and store in police files for.
But then it says the FBI is the one that got the video. So which is it? You're saying 5 years or 2 years later, whatever it was. It wasn't right away. It was like a couple of years later. That's when the FBI moved in and got the video, or what are y'all talking about? Keep a video for 5 years or 3 years or 2 years? Usually it's a 30-day record over situation on their video loops, record 30 days, record over it 30 days, whatever. I don't know, it was 2017, but they saved it from that night and still had it a couple years later, according to Barbara McDonald on Twitter. But then you read, in that document, no, the FBI obtained that video. Well, when was that?
Well, maybe the people that owned the Hoosier Harvest Store had more presence of mind than the actual fucking law enforcement.
Yeah,
to save that video.
Right. I forgot you had mentioned that. That's right, because I'd mentioned that to you. Like, that was my concern. You're like, well, you're right. Sometimes people will just keep that thing, that they turned over, wondering if ever that was a thing, and still have it. Maybe that was a situation when the FBI comes calling. Do you say, no, I don't have that? Or it's your call, I guess. Who the hell knows? But why do you have these damn screenshots as the moral of the story versus taking the video right then and there?
Right.
We wouldn't be sitting here speculating about your damn video now and if it's grainy or what the hell you did to it if you had just obtained it from the beginning like any good investigator should do.
Just not even a good investigator, just an adequate investigator.
Adequate, right?
Just freaking do your job, dude. Just
Yeah.
take video footage from any cameras in the area. I have seen enough 48 hours forensic files, the first
Right.
48, like CSI, like I've seen all those enough to know you take that video footage and you store it in your hard drive.
Yeah.
Ah,
It's insane. This whole thing, it's so hard to keep up with. Go ahead.
all right, so we're going to go down the hill, which is
Finish reading that,
particular.
okay?
Yeah, down the hill is particularly meaningful because I just walked down the hill on Thursday, and
Yeah.
there's not just one hill, there are two hills. So you go from the south end of the bridge down the hill to the private drive, and we know about this private drive. It goes east southeast to Brad Weber's house, or it goes west and southwest to County Road 625 west. And there could have been a car there. That is one of the theories. We don't know. We have no proof of that one way or the other, but there could have been a car there on the private drive. And if there wasn't, which is the state's theory, you have to go down another hill. And if you look at the videos I made, there's no way you're going like straight down the hill, like directly northeast of where you go down the first hill to the private drive, because it's so steep. It is a very, very steep hill. And in February, you might slide down on your butt, but it's gonna be a rough ride down. I mean, that's easily a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-2 slope. So you have to go down parallel with the railroad tracks, which is what I did. And then you can go down to the creek floodplain area, and then you can get to the creek itself. But there's not just one down the hill. I think that's a huge distinction in my understanding of what happened that day. You don't just go down one hill. You have to go down two hills if you want to cross the creek.
Go ahead, pull that down for a second. I'm going to put your video up and see if it'll play. Guys, my signal may not be... I'm going to test it out here. I want to play you a little bit of Joe's video while he's talking. Or he's talking, and I think we can hear you. Uh-oh. I don't know. Let me see here. Joe was having issues that day with internet. So let's see. Our connection, all that thing. All right. This up, right? Let me see if it'll play. So, Joe, this is you.
This is the southeast end of the bridge. This is exactly where the down the hill video started for the girls, or was taken for the girls.
Yeah, this is on the south end. So all the way down the other end was the north end when you would enter the bridge, cross the creek, all the way to the end to here. And this leads, so your back would be toward the Weber property.
Correct, yes.
And that private drive runs just under where you can see right here and around to that private property back there. Okay. Just kind of want to lay that out for you guys. But here's his video. I'm going to hit play. And let's see.
Here to go live. But here I'm at the south end of the bridge. See what kind of disrepair it's in. And no need to go any further out on it. As we know, the girls got to the south end here, south end of the bridge, and that's where downhill happened. This is the only realistic way to go down the hill is up to the east and the north. The north, yeah, that would be better because the south end over here, or the west end, that hill is really steep. And there's a pretty well established path on this side. So we're going to go down here and try not to fall on my ass because of all the leaves. Wet leaves on rocks. A bad mix. No hiking boots. Not today. Loose gravel. Yeah, you're going to get some bad angles here because I'm having to 3-point this thing. So, down the hill. There's no trespassing signs there, so I'm not going down the hill that way. They might have that day. But how many hills did they go down? And we know it's at the bottom of this first hill here. It's a private drive that goes back to the Weber land. So this is the less direct route down the hill, which I'm using because of the no trespassing signs. It looks like there's a decent path.
This is the other side of the bridge. You never really see.
Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me? I don't know if I hit a button. What was? This is a different video that I had. But that was Joe was down there live and he had more video. And that's his this one I got from your channel, Joe, when you went over and you dropped your lives. And he was trying to go live, so he got everything set back up over there. So I went over there and saved the video so I could share it as we were talking about it. But so Joe was there and got us like a good walk around and got to bring us there a little closer, if for those who hadn't been that close to it yet. So Joe, you can talked about how just getting down there and how I realized for a long time, yeah, you had to go down the hill to the private drive, but once you went across the private drive, there was another hill area.
And actually, it was a steeper and
Yeah.
more vertical difference between on the second hill down below the private drive. So
Yeah,
that
this
was remarkable to me.
yeah, there was another video that I just happened to come across. And it was a guy that kind of went, I guess it was close to down there where you went before. Let me see. I want to stop it right there and see if that's it. Yeah, it looks like it. Stop. I don't know. But it was like the slopes like you were saying, and it's like the same image, when you get down there, there's the bigger rocks, you know what I mean? Like you had shown, and how steep it really was. And just to get down that, I guess, would have been a chore, right? To get down to the drive.
Yeah, well,
From everything we've seen.
to the drive was the first part of it, and that wasn't insurmountable. But the second part below the drive was actually the more challenging part. Like you have to walk along the slope parallel with the railroad tracks and then curve around to the north towards the creek. You can't just like go down from the private drive down the slope, because it's not passable. It's like easily a 2-to-1 slope.
Yeah. And before I really realized how because I learned what the private drive was and where it went. Then I learned the Ronald Logan property versus where the girls were, a cemetery, all that. But when you really get into that little area right there, as far as that, I always felt like you could get across that drive. It was flat through there to the water. But no, there's like a larger down the hill area again, right? And it's a lot steeper.
Yeah, and
It's going
it
to add
would-
more time and more difficulty, right?
yes, absolutely. Yes, for sure. Like you don't just go down the hill from the south end of the bridge to the creek. That's not an easy thing. That's not collapsible thing by one guy who's 5'5", 170 pounds. I mean, granted, he has a gun supposedly, and he's holding them against their will and forcing them against their will, but also supposedly Libby was a fighter. So it strains credulity. It just strains my belief system that is what happened that day on February 13th of 2017. It strains my belief system.
You know,
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying it's hard for me to believe.
it was hard to believe that a local person did this and left no sign or trace that it was them for 5 years, except for the one thing that they did have. Oh, yeah, I was there, like a lot of people that day. And here's what I was doing. Here's the time frame. Here's what I was driving. Here's what I was wearing. Then 5 years go by, and here they come again with some more questions. You just tell them the same thing again. Then boom, we saw what was happening in those interrogation videos that they were confronted with in court, and reactions that the jury gave to that were not favorable. Did they go too far and purposely lying to? Okay, we get it. You're gonna scream and yell and good cop, bad cop, and lie to your suspect and harass the shit out of them. We get it. Whatever, in the name of whatever you do. But you got over there and you were doing it to his wife. You literally tried to tell this woman something that was not true in the moment. You just stumbled upon your tip days ago. Boom, suddenly you got probable cause because y'all found a shiny bullet in the ground 5 years ago, and 3 days later we want to get in there and find your gun and see if it matches. It's crazy that happened like that. So that's weird. That's bad investigation. They didn't leave no DNA at the scene, none. Maybe they did, but y'all didn't test it all. So there's that. So that's reasonable doubt, right?
We hope so.
I mean, it raises true reasonable doubt at that point. You can look at it however the hell you want, but if you look at it, like, you really evaluate it, I don't think that can be anything other than that. It's just so crazy they thought they could just keep doing that. Well, I guess they thought they probably could with someone like, Judge Gull.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause after all this time.
Reasonable doubt. We're all putting faith in the jury at this point.
Yeah, because every stage of this, because when you got through, they didn't really have, questions for the family when they listened to the family get up and talk about the victims and, that part of it, and what they did on day 1, day 2, like that with them. But when you moved into things like the investigation part, even with the DNA stuff, they had major questions there and some good questions. Stuff with the video with the car, there was some good questions about all this, and with the treatment of Rick Allen's mental health. It's like, wow, their questions they are asking are smart, and I don't think they like what they were seeing. I'm getting that vibe. I might be wrong, but I feel like I don't know. That's the way I feel.
It's going to be interesting to see the last few days of defense presentation in this.
Yeah, to see who they call this week and what their angle will be as far as what they are allowed to present. We know they can't present a lot. So I've heard that. So they tried to get the FBI agent, right, Paul, to come and remote testify, right? And so is this true what I heard, that he can't come? The judge ruled against it.
Yeah, the judge denied a remote
So what
testimony. What What the?
By an FBI agent? What's up with that?
He can't be trusted. You know he's gonna lie if he's on remote testimony.
Jeez. Like, the FBI agent was killed outside of his Terre Haute Police Department by a former corrections
Ferenczi?
officer.
Yes.
Yes. And
Sheehan.
he,
Yep.
yeah, and
Ferenczi and
he
Sheehan.
worked on, yeah, and he just pled insanity,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Just
Yes, he did.
insanity. So let me just, we can go that route as well. So there's a lot of what's going on with the FBI here for real.
No, my mind is exploding. It's
That's
already exploding, and I'm
yeah.
not even going down the Ferenczi
Don't
Sheehan
right. Thank you. I'm
trail.
about to go down. I'm about to go down a rabbit hole. Don't you pull me out? Stop. Stop. Stop.
All right, I'm gonna have to jump off
For
here,
collecting all the
and
evidence. I
I'm
know.
gonna have to jump
And
off here in a little bit.
okay, so they went on and they interviewed the warden, from the Westville prison, and they went into about his care and how he was kept there and all the things when they got safe order keeping, and they had a lot of things come in about the testimony of that, and how they determined really that he under orders was still under safekeeping, so they didn't think he qualified really to go on for specialized care. Basically what they summed that up to. So it's like, no, that what, now the defense is showing a series of videos to show just how bad it really was. So they're disputing everything that the prosecution was saying. You know what I mean? We have him on these videos and he's doing this and he's doing that, and 1 minute he's psychotic, 1 minute he's fine, he's doing better, and then the next minute, no, he's not again. And which one is it? All these different episodes, all the things that we know, that these hardcore medications that are going to make you have these hallucinations and wonder what the hell's going on, and all the things we can, we know that are possible. It's crazy that they went that route, and it's easily just like, what? And they continued to do it in the name of safekeeping. I don't know. So they should have moved. I don't think they were able to prove a lot of that with the prosecution, in my opinion, with the jury. I might be wrong, but
Well, the jury seems to be paying attention, so that's a good sign.
yeah. And then of course, you had your witnesses and everything that couldn't pick him out. So when they got to Melissa Oberg, she was the one. You got to go?
Yep, I do. I got a ditch.
Okay. All right. Well, it was good having you up. I'm only going to be on for a little bit longer, then we're going to go. And I'm going to come back in the morning at some point. Maybe tomorrow afternoon, actually, to see if there's any updates from the tomorrow's day of testimony.
Awesome. I appreciate your insight as always.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Uh-huh. Thank you, Joe.
Ciao, everybody. Thanks for jumping in. Thank you, Butterfly, for modding.
Okay. Let me see. It's weird. FBI, now the judge says he can't come testify. I've never heard of a judge saying that FBI agent or whatever can't. And he's apparently working on like the election thing or whatever in Texas where he's assigned. So he's like he's busy right now doing his like actual job. So there's that too. And she's like, no, it doesn't matter. You can't. I'm like, he's FBI. Can he be trusted, Judge Gull, to testify remotely? Hearings like that in the Koberger case, remote stuff, it's done remotely. It's like, get with the program, get with the times. So then they had all the psychology stuff came into play, and the psychologists and Dr. Walla's testimony, and all the craziness with that lady who turned out to be a true crime fan, hanging out in Facebook groups and commenting and joining all the things and talking to Rick Allen about being in those groups and what people are saying and doing. That was like a really bad gray area. And then you couple that with confessions he's making to you about things only the killer would know, that maybe you might know from these rumors you're hearing in these groups. Like, no, there's too much there that shouldn't have been. Like, why does that keep building in this case? You know what I mean? Why every time we turn around there's something new like that make us go, damn. Tell us again we're crazy, because that's crazy shit. Sorry, guys. I have to get something to drink. My voice is like going away. I need to take a minute, go grab something. I will play something. Let me see if I can pull something up real quick. Let me see if it'll play while I run grab a drink. Okay, so this will be, let me pull him up here. Hang on a second, let me see. I want to make sure it's going to play before I throw it up there for you. Okay. This is Holman, and there's a little talking about, I think in this one he talks about more than, let's see what he says in this one. Let me know in the comments if you can't hear it. If you can't hear it, let me know.
Back on day one, what was your, when you heard this had happened and you knew you had a call to duty to more or less take over?
Right. First, I called my squad sergeant and told him to get all the detectives available up here because we knew it was going to be a long, drawn-out process. But I think, like everybody else, shock and awe. I mean, you really don't expect something like this tragic of an event to happen in a small town like Delphi. And I think it took a while to set in, and then it was just total chaos. I mean, the investigation with all the help that we got was just total chaos. And we were able to get that to controlled chaos. And then I joke around about becoming an oiled machine. And now I think it's a well-oiled machine where it's very manageable and we're making a lot of progress. But yeah, it's just pretty traumatic for everybody involved, not just the community, but every investigator that's been up here. But I think we all have a job to do. We all focus. We're very professional, and we're going to find justice for Abby and Libby. I mean, Abigail Williams and Liberty German did not deserve this. And I think my passion is getting justice for them and their families and the community.
People often forget that officers and detectives are real people as well. And emotionally, this is difficult for everybody involved.
Absolutely. And I kind of led to that. But and the other thing is, life doesn't stop. We try to put it on hold. When you have a major case like this, you try to put life on hold, but it doesn't stop. I mean, we have detectives up here that, have had their own deaths in their families, their own sickness. Their kids are sick. They're planning weddings, just everyday stresses, and you can't stop that. You can't put it on hold. You might be able to for a day or two, but with this type of investigation and it being month, 2 months, 3 months, hopefully not any, years, but you can't put that on hold. So you have to deal with those stresses. You have to find a way to do it. And I think for me, what makes it easy is the people I'm working with and working for. And so it's been a little easier to handle that stress when you have the backing and you work with such great people.
Are there times where you just kind of have to break down sometimes and deal with what's going on?
I think so. I think it's impossible to control those.
Man, it's just like, it's almost like, why they keep doing this word salad stuff. They don't say anything except the same old thing over and over. And it's like a song and dance they do. And it's almost like you get up there now and it's a whole different thing. You can be pressed and you are shown your own words and you can see that they're not exactly lining up here, and I think that's part of, the whole craziness that was talked about. The possibilities were going on. We're seeing that it actually was possibilities, and it, no. These were FBI agents that were talking about the case and what they thought. And the search warrant they did on Ron Logan's property was from the FBI. This is called Mobile Instinct. I'm gonna play this for a minute. You guys, I don't know the link to the channel, but I'll have to get it and then drop it in the comments afterwards if it'll play.
So it's a warm fall day here.
I'm going to fast forward it to where what matters, because down here, this is almost to the south end, and he's going to go down where Joe's video went, and down the slope. And it's the same type of view, and it was like showed up in my feed, and it was like, I've never seen this one before, and I've seen so damn many versions, and I wanted to share this one because hang on, let me see if it'll play. Let me stop it and see if it'll start where I want it to, where it matters. Because he goes down that hill and it shows a really good image of that road and then the hill that Joe was talking about. And that's what I wanted to show. It's not wanting to play right now. Hold on. Okay. All right. Well, I guess it's not going to do it right this second. If it kicks in, I'll let you know. I'll keep trying to refresh it. But there is an area where Joe was talking about, and this guy's video, it happened to show the same thing that Joe was talking about. That when you go down that, oh, hang on, it started. Okay. And I'm going to put my screen up. Now, remind you, this is already coming to the south end. He already came down the hill to the private drive where you would come down to. And then remember, Joe said from there it was a steep hill. And here's what this guy's video is showing.
Could they have gone this way? Could they have gone down the hill this way? There's a bunch of trails all through this. Definitely not in the best shape, but I don't think it's going to fall today. It was in the daytime. They easily could have come down here. You know, if bridge guy, whoever the murderer is, if they had a gun, or you know what, even a knife. I mean, you're talking about two kids. That's an intimidating situation. He could have forced them to walk down here. Now they got dropped off at about 1:30 or so. By Libby's sister. And I believe the plan was he called, he texted, and he got no response, of course. And it's really then where he started walking these trails while her dad was walking these trails looking for them. The killer quite possibly could have been leaving the park or leaving the area on a different trail.
See, if you look at the area there, you could see how steep that was, like Joe was saying, to go down that second hill to get across the creek at that point. That's crazy. Whose voice was what? The girls' tone when you hear them say there's no path, or what allegedly was said by the girls that came out in testimony. You know, how did they say it? Was it like a scared? We've heard it was not, or like a scared, terrified scream, there's no path, or something like that. We heard it, they said, like, there's no path. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal almost. That's my interpretation. I could be wrong of that, but that's kind of the way I took it when I heard the reviews of what was said. So there's all kinds of, questions with every single aspect of what they've shown, all the way up to the bullet testing. Especially when you got Weber's gun and you kept it for as long as you did, 6 months, and you couldn't rule it out. Per testimony of the lady who just testified, what was her name again? She was Oberg, right? Y'all just told me that in the chat earlier, and I have her because I was looking for her testimony thing. But you got that where she didn't compare the unspent round. She had to fire it 6 times to get the results she needed to match to an unspent versus a fired. All these things that, and they weren't even allowed to bring in an expert to dispute that from the defense side. So all these different so-called pieces of evidence they brought forward were easily questioned. It was too easily questioned. That's the sad part. It just kind of, and then they lie about it and don't know what to say. And it's kind of like, man, you just sitting there showing how bad your investigation was and how much you do owe those kids a big apology. It's horrible to fail them in these many ways. I mean, geez, you just don't do that. That's too many ways. Shame on them. You had a whole bunch of crime scene investigators that testified. All those things that, came out, and the state is pretty much rested. Beyond their bullet expert that they presented, that's their only physical piece of evidence besides the bridge guy. And there's questions about the bridge guy video, being zoomed in or not. Voice being the same person on the bridge. Those are the And then the video they got later that allegedly shows his car. I guess that's what they have. Because there's no DNA, right? At the house, in his car, at the crime scene. None of that. No DNA for Richard Allen anywhere. And he's just a pharmacy assistant versus a sorry, my voice went away, versus like, a well-educated criminology major or something like that. Yeah. Yes, no justice for Abby and Libby. That's right. If they got either way, if Rick Allen's not your guy and you were like totally needing something to go after, and lo and behold, you might have found something kind of thing. Let's just do all it takes to get there. And we see that result. That's horrible. And if it was him and you allowed 5 years to go by and him to live right there under your nose, should have left evidence all behind all along the way. Apparently did. None of that happened. Come on. And nobody in town gave the tip that was him out of all their 200. Like, they were getting tips all the time about that could be so-and-so I know, or that voice could be so-and-so that I know. But none ever were like Rick Allen, unless they've lost it into the state, still can't find it, like a lot of other things. It's crazy. So it's interesting now to see what the defense will do. So we'll have to wait and see. They'll start back up tomorrow. And we'll have to wait toward the afternoon to see what starts coming down about what witnesses they call and how they proceed, considering all the things the judge won't let them do. But I got faith that they'll do, what they should be easy, right? Considering how easy it's been so far. Is Weber expected to take the stand tomorrow? I don't know for sure. Is that him? Yeah, because we need to know, right? If you came straight home or not. Timeline matters. When was this white van inserted into the story? When was the timing on that insert white van theory? That matters, right? So it's going to be they subpoenaed him, right? So and I don't know who else they're going to call. So I'm sure there'll be speculation about that in the morning, and we can, check in and get the updates on that. So I'll probably go live tomorrow afternoon, maybe. Depends on how things are around here, with an update of what's went on tomorrow. If not, it'll be Tuesday. We'll see. But I just kind of wanted to recap with you guys and with Joe about the things that have gone on so far with the prosecution side. And I gave them a fair chance, like I really, really did, to give me something that I could really get behind. And so far, each piece they've presented, there's a lot of questions to each one of those pieces. And it's like, really? No, to every piece of it. And it's insane that it's all adding up like that. So based on what I'm seeing coming right out of their mouths on the witness stand, it's crazy to me. I think the jurors see a lot of it too, just based on their questions and the way they're being described by people who are in the courtroom. They're doing a pretty good job at bringing us a feel of the jurors, of where they sit with this information. And like I said, the defense did start out by doing the videos of the camcorders that show Allen being taken out of his cell, transported to like the doctors, the showers, and things like that outside of the cell and back. And there's no audio, so they reviewed those. Only the juror and the judge The attorneys saw that. So the jurors didn't have a good reaction to those videos. They seemed empathetic with Rick Allen from my understanding of their descriptions. I don't think it worked out for the state the way they thought it would and think about it, because it was the defense that brought these out of the discovery they received. So case got, they let their investigation. There was lazy cops from the get-go. Like, they don't, whatever the FBI had, they didn't want to see it. They didn't want to talk about it. Well, we don't like it. Go away. Give us back all the information we gave you, by the way. Just bye. End story. Like, what? And 5 years later, there you were again, still nothing, until you come across the tip. And there's even a clip of Doug Carter saying something about that. They're going to even pay better attention to even all the pieces of paper, something to do with the pieces of paper. And I was like, what? You're referencing the pieces of paper? You mean like the lost tip that was marked cleared with the messed up name situation? Okay. Like, you got to answer for everything, Doug Carter, except for why you made the FBI, or not made, just asked the FBI to leave. I'd like to know more as to why. Why? Why would you do such? All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go. My voice is saying chill out for a while. I'm going to go rest it. But yeah. So I'm going to try to post tomorrow from the community post to try to keep up with some of the things that are going on tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon. And we'll let you guys know if we're going to go live, me or Joe. One of us will, maybe. But we'll let you know from one of the channels, okay? Again, thank you. And Butterfly, thank you for coming in. If you guys have any questions or thoughts about the first part here with the prosecution's case, by all means, throw it in the chat there. Well, Heather, I've got my thoughts about that one now. That's a whole other one, girl. You know it. You know it. But yeah, we all got our thoughts about that, right? We're going to be having, here's the thing, next, I got to double check this. I've been so deep into the Delphi. I know I have been, and I'm slacking but I'm not slacking in the background. Kohberger has a hearing coming up in Ada County, I believe the 7th or the 9th. If anybody knows for sure, drop it in the chat. I'll have to double check and I'll post it. But anyway, I believe it's some death penalty hearing stuff. There's a few weeks, I'd say the past month, really 4 weeks, about that subject. And yeah, I need to do a live about that right before we do the hearing, because I will cover the hearing. I don't miss his hearings. So at least Ada County will still present the hearings. This will be like one of the really good, not good, you can't, hearings are hearings, but and before this new judge, right? We were gotten used to judge the thinker, or whatever you want to refer to him as over there in Latah County. So now we have the whole new judge, whole new county, whole new ball game. So we'll see what happens in this upcoming hearing, how things go. But anyway, yeah, a lot going on with different stuff in the courts. Could you imagine if there was no cameras and no audio and the Kohberger stuff, and all they had was grainy footage and it was screenshots of the footage? No. or even if he was thrown in prison and couldn't even get his vegan meals and handcuffed and shackled at the neck and covered by face, covered up his head. I mean, all the things we're hearing. Oh my goodness. Same thing was happening to Koberger. It would be internet on fire shit. I don't mean to be like trying to be like battlegrounds, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, it's amazing to me the difference in the two. Especially considering their arrest was like a month apart. It's like, Jesus. All right, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you again for joining. Hit the sub, please, and the like and all the things. I appreciate it. And go over there and give Joe a like as well. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you again this week. All right, good night.